No.
I'm sorry. That's my
Anybody?
fault. Continue, Shannon, from the
Do I
beginning.
have to do that all again?
Yes.
Yeah, run it back.
Whoops.
I'm gonna wait until Chet tells us that we have sound.
We got sound, chat. Let us
Sorry,
know.
I got
Got sound now.
I got
Alright,
distracted on Reddit. There was a cute kitty.
Run it
Oh
back.
my goodness.
That was like the best shout out I ever did. Now I have to fucking start over.
I'm sorry.
Go for it.
Well, so, okay. Well, it's not going to be as good as the first time around. But anyway, so we are having a couple of giveaways going on. The first one is happening on our Twitter. There are less than 300 followers to go before we get to 2,000 followers on Twitter. Amazing. And when we get there, we are giving away Quarterly Volumes 1 and 2 from the Underground Oracle Publishing. They are the creators of incredible D&D 5e supplements. We use Prongs of the Black in our camp. Well, not we. Cal uses Prongs of the Black in our campaign. It did some pretty hefty damage against a troll that he recently fought and killed in one round, which was amazing. So if you haven't checked them out yet, be sure to subscribe to their Patreon and follow them on Twitter. And they have a Discord where there's amazing people in there. You can meet cool people, talk nerdy things, and just check them out. Just they're amazing. Our second giveaway that we are doing is one that's going to be happening during our break tonight, live on stream. And it is from Arcane Spectacles. They are the creator of beautiful spell trackers and other TTRPG accessories. They have new products like an HP tracker and an AC tracker. But tonight we are giving away their original product, a blue and purple spell tracker. We've tweeted it out on Twitter, so if you haven't seen a picture of it, it's on my timeline. It's on Paradice's timeline. And I'm sure I'll tweet it again later. But if you would like a chance to win that beautiful spell tracker from Caitlin and Jared of Arcane Spectacles, you need to be here when we are at break, and we'll have a keyword for you to put in chat, and we'll pick somebody at random who used that keyword, and I'll talk about that right before we go to break. So thank you for sticking around, and thank you, Arcane Spectacles, for giving us this spell tracker to give away. We're very excited. Our other partner is Talon and Claw. They are the creator of gorgeous wooden tabletop accessories like DM screens, dice vaults, dice, etc. If you use the code Paradice, spelled Paradice, you can get 10% off your order. You can do that in Arcane Spectacle shop as well, so be sure to check out both of those shops. Last but not least, I would like to shout out Eddie York, who is, if you saw the Be With You Shortly screen, he did all of the art for that. And in a moment, you'll see our scrolling character cards, and Alex worked with Eddie to get those all together, and he's just so talented, so professional. Highly recommend working with him if you're looking for a D&D art commission. He's amazing. We love you, Ed. And that's it. Let's do it.
All right. Thank you very much, Shannon.
You're welcome.
I guess we shall move forward with our show and the recap tonight. So one last thing to mention, our good boy elf Curon will not be joining us tonight, unfortunately, due to some work conflicts and some traveling that Stefan needs to do, but that's okay. We spoke to him before, so Curon might be a little quiet tonight, a little stoic as he prays to Ilyuvanya, but we will push onward without him and happily bring him back in next week. Okay. So last we left off, you were floating in the sewer canals beneath the amber thistle, concealed by Timber and Curon's combined darkness spells, having narrowly escaped Erdwulf Thatcher, the leader of the Highland Butchers in this region of Svarlwold. This figure is otherwise known to most of the party as Reese, Scarlet's long-lost brother, who was kidnapped by the Highland Butchers 10 years ago. With the aid of Wiswick's quick counterspell, you deflected Erdwulf's fireball spell, which allowed you to conceal yourselves and escape down this cistern, presumably heading towards the riverfront. as you make your way deeper into this sewer to get away, this being the only boat that you saw in the chamber before, you drift quietly down the cistern waters. The waters themselves mostly still, quiet and reeking of your own desperation in the bowels of the city. You begin organizing your thoughts the best you can between the quick sloshing of water as the oars are rowed by Cal and Timber, and through the pained cries of Scarlet, who still has a broken leg and has sustained still many wounds from her time within the Ambered Thistle as a prisoner. Of course, you are in this situation because you had to go and rescue Scarlet, who had earlier that day ran off from the party in pursuit of someone she believed was from her past, chased by Timber and Wiswick. Wiswick, having put a lot of his eggs into the basket that is Scarlet and supporting her decisions and seeing a bit of himself perhaps in her mad dashes into the unknown, followed her as Timber simply seemed to have given up on them as he walked back to the tavern. They had descended into the sewers and came to the Ember Thistle, where they were caught by Eredwolf Thatcher. Wiswick, after an intense duel and conversation where Scarlet saw her close friend that she was pursuing, Silas, killed by Eredwolf, he let Wiswick go, but with only one prisoner, who was Scarlet's ex-partner, Caleb. Scarlet was left behind, thrown in a prison cell below, to wait until later that night when you all came to rescue her, which ultimately led to the desperate situation you are in now, floating down this sewer canal. Once you felt you had made it a decent distance, though Cal never stopped rowing the oars of the boat with full strength, you finally started to focus and bring yourselves to a plan, despite Scarlet's insistence on going back to find her brother. Timber, believing himself to be the best and most capable of sneaking back in, elected to stealth back into the Ambered Thistle to retrieve Scarlet's belongings, but also to look around and get a good idea of what the breadth of their search was going to be for you. He left your rowboat and began walking back up the sides of the sewer canal to head back in, with the benefit of an invisibility spell cast by Wiswick. The rest of you pushed onward as Curon tended to Scarlet's leg the best he could in this dark sewer. Eventually, you came upon an opening in the water where it got wider, and you saw these iron gates before a small passage into the next chamber, where you saw dim, sputtering torches within. Scarlet, still in an erratic state, was unable to read the thieves' cant that you had seen hanging from a sign in the tunnel past the iron gates. With the proper use of leverage, you broke the iron gates off of their hinges and moved deeper into this chamber. Before you could really react properly, Wiswick had put Jet's head underwater in order to see around to see what was below, because you felt the ship move at something touching it beneath. It was then that a tentacle quickly latched onto Jet, destroying his material form, and a battle ensued against a large squid-like creature that had almost fused itself with the sediment of the lake, with this inky black ichor that flowed over its flesh. Meanwhile, within the Amber Thistle, Timber began searching around the best he could for Scarlet's belongings. He was able to retrieve her backpack, but he had another motive for being in here. You see, earlier this night, he had spoken with a contact of his from an organization known as the Sulk, Bogdasha, and she told him that there were three artifacts within the Amber Thistle: a strange runic blade, a pallid mask, and an ancient text carved with runes itself. Timber already knew where the pallid mask was with Thatcher, and quickly found out also that the sword was with Thatcher. But he was able to investigate the book, which Bogdasha had identified as a specific artifact, the sword and the book potentially, of the local religious group at the Stormspire. And Timber is in need of allies, as he said to Bogdasha, for what potentially is to come, or what he potentially must do in the future. Unfortunately, he was not able to acquire either of these relics, as there were too many guards within the Amber Thistle. He found his way back out through a secret tunnel that led back to a warehouse in the Blighted Row, the criminal district of Oranshire. Here he ascended the steps and was just not quiet enough in his invisible state, as waiting at a trapdoor he was ascending to were four Highland Syndicate guards, who two of them wildly swung as they believed there was something in the darkness below. One successfully stabbing Timber in the side with an axe. Clutching at his wound to avoid the blood spilling out for them to follow him, he quickly, using his monk abilities, escaped from this warehouse to begin making his way into the other parts of the city. During this time, you fought bravely against this tentacled beasts with its writhing limbs that were covered in these extra leech-like appendages. Through the battle, you were able to resist being pulled in the water until close to the end, when Scarlet found herself dragged beneath the depths, falling unconscious and falling closer and closer to death. Thankfully, Curon was able to heal her, and before the beast could break her spirit again, Wiswick used his radiant magic missiles to pierce the creature's flesh. You also had discovered that bright light had made it more susceptible to damage, and the creature's inky black blood filled the waters as Cal reached in to drag Scarlet out from the depths. Her legs certainly no longer set in the splint it was originally in, and perhaps more damaged. She breathed heavily and then passed out from the pain. Breathing in the stillness of the air around you, you began ushering back down into the sewers, keeping your eyes open much deeper, keeping your eyes much more open this time. You had encountered another sort of nest of creatures as you saw some spiders down a tunnel, but you were able to successfully avoid them, and you found yourselves coming down to the light and into the river itself. It was there that you positioned yourself properly and then let the river take you, keeping yourselves low and concealed, as people up on the top of the bridge above saw you, but were not able to come down to the shoreline quick enough to catch it. So as the rushing water of the river carried you out of Oranshire and into the countryside, you held tight to your cloaks, looking around as the lights disappeared behind you, and the dark countryside came up before you, leaving a Wiswick, making sure he put a note to Robert in his magic sock in order to pass on the message that you would meet them 2 miles outside of the borders of the town. All during this time, Timber attempted to sneak through the city without stopping, but he saw his old friend Gunvald, the candlemaker at the Withering Wick, being harassed by some of the bruisers of the Highland Syndicate who were searching through the city for you. He could not resist defending his old friend as he lunged forward in his woven form and attacked one of them. Vunder, the seeing eye dog of his old friend, attacked as well, and together they took down these two bruisers, Timber transforming into his hybrid form and also losing his invisibility. It was here that Timber dragged their bodies and threw them down into the sewer, and then, following an old friend from previous session, a small rat he had previously used a potion to speak to, brought him back through the sewers over to the Grace and Duchess Inn where you were all staying to retrieve your intern Robert and your wagon of goods. It was here that he discovered that the tavern had been ransacked. He had heard earlier some talking in the Amber Thistle as he snuck around about the Thatcher's bruisers searching through the city, even into what they called Embla's tavern, despite the fact that she resists their influence. It was in here that he found it darkened, and he saw a body in the middle of the floor of your room. Presuming it might be Robert, he carefully approached to find it was simply one of the bruisers with his throat slit. A few people that were nowhere to be found was Caleb, Scarlett's partner that Wiswick had rescued, and Jorhen was nowhere to be found. But soon he heard footsteps outside. He took a position hiding as a bruiser slowly entered the room, and out of the darkness popped Embla, the tavern keeper, who sunk a dagger deep into the bruiser's neck, killing him. And from the other room, you heard the familiar cries of Robert as he had made his seemingly first kill on another bruiser sneaking in there as he came in and saw you, Timber, as you were about to leap out from the tavern window. So this is where we left off. The two parts of the party separated by some distance. Four of you drifting down the river towards your rendezvous point, and one of you in the process of retrieving your allies. So what I would like to do is check on Timber first.
Robert, is that you?
Oh. And you see he's got like blood all over his hands, and he's just like desperately trying to wipe it off on his shirt. He's just like,
Robert, what happened? Where is everybody?
Where is everybody who was with you? There's people kicking in all the doors in town.
Where's Caleb? Did he escape?
Where's Cal? Caleb, I have no idea. When everything happened, I turned and looked. There was a note, two notes that came out of the sock from Wiswick, and then they heard commotion downstairs and some. And then I turned back and he was gone.
Did you read the note?
No. Oh. As he's just sort of like, oh, yeah, should have done that. I didn't get. He pulls it out and he reads it really quickly. And says, I didn't get the cart ready.
Okay, all right. Well, then, we have to go right now.
And you see Embla is just standing there cleaning off her blade, and she just says, "How do you propose to get out of the city when they are all looking for you? Presumably,
they don't know my face." And we have a point in which we're going to rendezvous with everybody who has been seen. They're currently traveling down a river on a boat, and we need to meet them soon.
See, she thinks about this for a moment, and Robert just kind of comes up to you and is kind of like, "Oh, where's Cal? Is everyone okay?"
Everyone's okay.
Oh, okay, good.
We got Scarlett back. Cal's okay. You'll get paid. Don't worry.
Oh, no. That's not what I meant. I just really want to leave. They're kicking doors down.
Yes.
I had to kill a guy. There's so much blood. I've never.
Timber pats him on the back. It'll be okay.
Yeah, and he's just kind of like, okay.
Let's focus on getting the card ready.
Embla kind of like is dragging the bodies away, and she looks up at you and just says, You'll never get out of the town in your cart if you're driving it. But if you two hide in the back, if you really did fuck over Ardwolf Thatcher this much to deserve being searched for like this, I'll drive you out. I'll drive your cart out for you. You can hide in the back.
You just committed murder for his... Shouldn't he be after you too? Look at what you've done.
Mm-hmm. Thatcher and I have a different understanding of one another. But you're not wrong. He's likely not to be as tolerant of my place here in the city since this. But
Do you
seemingly...
know
Go ahead.
the Baron has been murdered by him?
No. That's news to me.
Well, he has, and I'm assuming he's going to have more control over the city. So, you should probably...
Wardenborg.
Wardenborg.
Warden.
Yeah.
Sorry, just pulling up some notes real quick.
You should go with us. Either way, we can discuss on the cart. We need to get the cart
And
ready.
she just says, she just kind of looks, and she kind of looks around, kind of slaps her hands together, and then onto her side, she's like, well, that certainly changes things. Okay. Meet me downstairs in 10 minutes. We'll get to your carts ready.
Okay. Robert?
He does not know I have killed his men yet, so I can still get out of the city.
He'll find out.
And she rushes out, and we are running down the stairs. Is there anything you'd like to do in here while she's off preparing, if you want to?
No,
jump ahead?
just kind of calm down, Robert, and just kind of give him a pep talk of like, all right, this is what we're gonna do. Everything will be okay. Like trying to like take over Cal's place as a role model.
Yeah, trying to do all the things Cal does when Robert's freaking out.
Yeah.
Okay, so you kind of are still being pretty careful because the torch lights are all lowly lit in the Amber Thistle. You see downstairs. There is all manner of disarray, as there seemed to have been more of a fight that had happened down there. You see a few of these bruisers who are similarly dead down there. You see Embla steps in from the back area behind the bar, and she's now wearing half plate armor. Yeah.
I'm sorry. I think you should continue this, but before she speaks, I would like to do something or have done something.
Sure, I'll describe what she's wearing, what she's doing, and then you can say what you want to say. So she's wearing half plate armor now that actually has a very nice design to it. It has it looks like something that a tavern owner isn't going to own. It's much richer and much more noble. She has a sword at her waist, a long sword that similarly has a very well made pommel and hilt. It reminds you a little bit of Mr. Escalon's sword, in the sense that it has that Gwyn design to it, that smooth utility to it, but with a bit of elegance. As she sort of sheathes that long sword, sheathes the dagger she was using, and looks over to you, giving you a quick nod.
And before that, I would like to ask the question: these bruisers, are they wearing anything that identifies them as a worker of Thatcher or
Syndicate member?
syndicate member? Yeah.
There's not anything that you would outwardly recognize. It's more of a behavioral thing that you would recognize. They look like everyday citizens. They might have more weapons though. And if you were to interrogate them, there would be something on their persons that might, you don't know if there is, but there might be something on their persons that affiliates them, and nothing outwardly affiliates them other than their behavior.
Okay. Can I investigate a body?
Sure. Give me an investigation roll.
To detect that indication?
Yeah.
5.
Okay. You do not find anything. You kind of open up. They're not wearing like armor or anything like that. They have like hatchets, or they have short swords or daggers, but they're pretty much just wearing like common clothes. You know, like breeches, a tucked-in tunic, and like maybe an overcoat. But nothing indicating that they are They're not a card-carrying member of the syndicate, even though they are. Anything else you would like to do before?
No. Robert, let's go.
Oh yeah. Okay. Yeah. Sorry. Oh yeah. And you see Robert kind of. You see Embla looks at you and just kind of gives you a follow me gesture and steps through the back door, or the door behind the bar. You follow her. You actually notice before you exit though, Robert does have some sticky fingers, and he does grab a half full bottle of booze from behind the bar and kind of just sort of like, gonna need this. And you follow her through to the back, where you exit out a back door, and you see the stable area back there. You see several horses and a few smaller wagons. You can see the dwarven stable hand from before, getting your cart ready, and getting a second cart ready, that you see him has been packing several supplies onto, as she lifts herself up onto the front of the cart, looks to you, Timber, and just says, "Keep very quiet in the back. Don't make a single noise. Cover yourselves with this." She throws a large brown cloak to you.
You got that, Robert?
He will. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Quiet as the corpses upstairs. Oh god. She looks to the dwarf and says, "He will lead ahead of us. He is less controversial than I am. He will talk to the guards. I will follow with my hood up, keeping you concealed in the back. Understood? We should be out of the city within 15 minutes. Where are your friends meeting? Where are we meeting your friends?"
Robert, you got the location from Wiswick?
Oh, 2 miles outside of town. Did you say? Did you specify which side of the river, Wiswick?
I think Wiswick would have.
Yeah, we'll
I
just
think
assume
my
you put-
general idea was like I want to give us a general heading. Like
Yeah.
I
Cool.
didn't say anything specific.
Yeah, I'll assume that you said south, 2 miles south out of the city on the
Was it bank?
opposite bank of the city, city proper.
Yeah, because whatever the bank headed towards where Timber wanted to go next, north.
Okay. Yeah. So that allowed safe passage without crossing the river again. Yeah.
Yeah.
So 2 miles south of the town on the west bank, which will just say that's what Robert just said. And she gets ready to go. Timber, if you want to conceal yourself in the back, is there anything else you want to do to better conceal yourself?
I can't cast Pass Without a Trace, so...
Did you already do it earlier?
I have no more key points.
Oh,
We never rested.
it is like 4 a.m.
Right.
So that makes perfect sense. Yeah, I'll say for the sake of things, it's actually more like 3 a.m. at this point. It'll probably take you all pretty far into the night to rendezvous. But I'll say she starts to leave. You see that you can kind of occasionally peek out from under there. You see under the cloak, you occasionally just see Robert just sort of.
Thank you, Robert. And
He hands you the bottle of whiskey, the half-full bottle of whiskey he stole.
takes a couple swigs and gives it right back.
Okay.
Is that my really special bottle that I bought?
Oh no.
Okay, good.
It was a random
No, this
bottle.
is this is the well whiskey that he stole from behind the bar.
Like a maker's mark, maybe something like
Not like a wild turkey.
that. Oh, hey, there's nothing wrong with wild turkey.
That's true. Okay. So you just kind of tensely sit back there as you hear the wagon through the streets at night. You occasionally hear things outside. You hear the shouting of some of the bruisers as they're kicking down doors. You at one point, when you get a sense that you're kind of based on, you're listening for familiar sounds, as you can presume, as the carts start to slow down when she's moving towards the bridge and the gatehouse. And you hear from the gatehouse the sound of the deep voice of a woman shouting out to her, or shouting out to the dwarf, really, because he's at the head of the two cart lineup. Stop that! Stop there! No one leaves the city. No one leaves the city without searching their carts. And you kind of hear Embla from the front just saying, keep quiet back there. Get yourself as low as possible. And you see her very quickly gesture in the air as you kind of get this weird sensation where you're kind of like flattened down and you kind of like peek up over the cloak and you just see what appears to be a boards of wood up above you. She's casted minor illusion over you. You hear them harassing the dwarf in the front, the stable hand. You can kind of hear him be like, I've lived in this city for 20 years. What do you think I'm possibly taking out of here? It's just grains and booze. We've got friends up north or down south. And you hear them like pulling barrels off of his cart. We're going to be keeping some of this booze from you, dwarf. Carry on, we'll investigate your friend there. As you hear.
Can I
Yeah.
Can I do something real quick?
Yeah.
Robert, did you drink most of that?
Oh yeah. I think so.
Give me that. And I put the
He hands you
bottle.
whiskey.
I put the bottle like on its side next to outside of the illusion.
Mm-hmm.
That's it. Just to add a little bit more.
Oh, I see.
Little more evidence to the story.
Yeah. Okay. So I'd like you to give me a quick stealth check
Sure.
with advantage because of the minor illusion.
Thanks, Sean.
Yeah, Robert needed it too.
That's 22.
Okay. So you hear the cart opened up, and you can hear the voices of the men and women looking. Oh, you've got nothing in here. Most of what we have is on the cart ahead. Yeah, it doesn't seem very smart. Man, it's not our job to make sure they're properly weighting their wagons, not tie out the horses. like it. You see, he steps up and starts to grill Embla a bit more. What exactly are you leaving this city for? In the middle of the night? Can't you see something's happening? Well, I do not know what is happening. I just thought I could leave my own city whenever I wanted. Cut the shit, Embla. We know you spit in the face of Thatcher every night. I do not know what you're talking about. And there's this tension in the air at that point. I think you should step out of the cart. And you hear this silence, and then a very fast sound of a blade leaving the scabbard, and a quick as she is just slit this guy's throat. And then you just hear her whip the reins, and the horses just start to gallop out, pulling the cart. And you're just sort of like, oh shit, in the back as it's starting to really rock. But you're out. She's crossing the bridge. You feel kind of the cloak whipping over you as you're now outside of the walls, and you can feel some of the wind outside and the speed that the cart's moving. You can hear the flapping of the of everything. As you can hear a few people like, I stopped that cart! As it's just barreling through the outer stead at this point, and you can then hear up ahead, probably some distance, the voice of the stable hand like, "What the fuck?" And then whipping his own reins as his cart starts to dash out there as Embla's passes. You can kind of, it's that sort of perspective. You're looking up and you're seeing the back as it's moving fast. You can see 2 guards running from the gatehouse across the bridge, and you can see your cart that you're in passes the dwarf's cart, and then you can watch the dwarf kind of looking back and then towards you and whipping the cart, and now is following Embla as you're making your way out of the city. But you have made your way out of the city as the cart is rushing into the nighttime at this point. And for some time you're kind of back there, just like not knowing what to do, as the cart is just moving faster and faster until the horses start to slow down. And you feel the cart start to slow down and then stop.
You okay, Embla?
You hear she's breathing heavily, kind of like this was all adrenaline. She's like, I just need to I do not want to tire the horses out too much. By this point, you're about a mile out from the town.
Timber would have like patted Robert on the back. Good job.
He's just hugging the bottle, like he hasn't moved since she slit that guy's throat.
Timber would put his fingers underneath the bottle and just be like, just keep drinking.
But you see she looks in the back and she just says, your friends, are they how are they getting here?
By boat. We'll probably see them on the near the river.
All right.
Do you want to hide the cart nearby in a safer location? Have them run out to it? To extract?
You may want to do it. How much do you have in your cart that you need?
How much do I have? Where?
In your cart.
In my cart.
Did you guys leave anything in the cart?
Did we leave anything in the cart?
I don't think you did.
I didn't.
I don't think we did.
I was mostly concerned about our horses.
Yeah. It might be why. Oh yeah, that's right. You guys have other horses. Well,
You didn't just tie them to the back of the cart like I assumed you would. Which is why I told Robert to get that ready. Yeah, just tie them. They walk. They're living creatures.
yeah. Yes, I'll say that the horses were tied to the back of the cart.
It was in our note.
Was it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Get
I
everything
know.
ready. Get the horses ready.
But Robert didn't read it.
Yeah, and Robert did read it. But regardless, she told the dwarf to get your stuff ready. So I'll say your horses were at the back of the cart. How well they kept up with that rush out. They're tied to it, so they had to. So yes, your horses are there. And if I'm not mistaken, you had 4 horses, 3 horses and a pony. 4 horses and a pony. Was it 3? Because Kieran had one, Cal had one.
Timber never had one, but we do have one tied to the cart, so technically it's 4 horses and a pony.
Correct.
1 cart horse, 3 normal horses, 1 pony.
Okay. Embla would just say to you, Timber, we can keep on the road for another mile to the point, but then we'll need to decide what to do with your cart and our cart. I'm going to send my servant further to a different location. Well, what to do with your cart is up to you. But suppose we should meet with your friends first.
Correct. We should hide it until we meet them, and then we leave immediately.
Okay. I'll say that you. It's kind of hard to judge the time on it, but you make your way up another mile, and you can pull the cart off to the side of the road and start to move through the thicket towards the bank to meet them.
Perfect.
I'll say that it's not, Timber, you would probably arrive, I'd say after them. So for the rest of you, I'd say you are drifting down river. Cal, would you like to start rowing at any point, or just let it take you all the way until you judge that you're a good 2 miles out?
Once we're out of the... No, honestly, I don't... Well, if we're out of the city, I don't need to row.
Okay.
If we're in the city, I don't need to row, actually. I'm going to let it take us... I'll keep us in line, you know what I mean?
In line,
Like,
yeah.
I'll adjust, but I won't... I'm not, like, constantly exerting myself at the moment.
Okay. So I'll say that eventually you start to make your way. You reach a point where you feel like you're far enough away that you're roughly 2 miles away from the outer steads. And you start to take the oars and bring yourself in towards the western bank. It's very, you could just see the tallest parts of Oranshire in the distance on the horizon, but it's mostly gone from your vision. The only thing that you really see are the occasional small blips of light in the countryside of a farmhouse here or there. But you are out of the city entirely and out of its outer sort of boroughs as well. And you can make your way towards the shore at this point.
I do that. I row into shore, and I pull the boat onto the sand so we could get Scarlet out without having to, like, drop her in the water.
Okay. Yeah. Easy enough to.
I beach the boat, as it were. Sean, how big is this bank? Is this like do we have like a real like bank here, or is it just like classic northeastern river where it's just sheer side?
Oh yeah, good question actually. I would say that it's you actually have, I'd say where you are now, you have an actual bank. Like you could actually make your way up it. There's not I know exactly what you mean by New England steep side where it's just like, well, I guess we're climbing.
Yeah.
But no, you actually have a gradual
10 feet down in a river. Okay.
Yeah. You actually have a gradual it's a little, you're essentially make your way through a small patch of wetland until you reach solid ground.
Okay.
And then you can pull the boat in towards you can actually beach the boat if you'd like.
Yeah, I'll pull it in just so we have a stable platform here.
Okay.
And I'm still being quiet.
Yeah.
And I'm kind of like, I motion for Kieran to help, or I motion for Kieran to help me lift Scarlet in a stable fashion.
Yep.
Out of the boat, so it's not.
Wiswick jumps out of the boat, and while they're lifting up Scarlet, holds it steady for them. Wobbles.
Okay. So you're all out of the boat at this point. You are you're looking around and you're in pitch darkness essentially, and you're just waiting. And I'd say, you wait for quite a while. Or is there something else you want to do
I'm
while
not
you're waiting?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm making sure all of our crap is off the boat, and
Okay.
then I'm kicking it back out
Cool.
into the current.
All right. He's
And then
And
I'm grabbing a large branch. Are there trees? Is this arboreal? What kind of?
good question. It is arboreal. I'd say this is like a.
Or is it more of a taiga?
That's the thing is I'm like in between those.
Okay.
I'd say it's in between those. There's definitely more woodlands than a taiga.
Okay. Okay. So I'll take a local branch, and I'll go over where the boat landed, and disturb the rock or the dirt and the sand. Basically, all right. You see what I'm trying to do. So they don't
100%.
know where our landing point was.
Yeah.
And then I'd like to get us away from the bank, so we're not silhouetted on the side of it.
yeah, I think while Cal's doing that, Wiswick's like leading the rest of them to a place to hide.
Yeah.
And then when he gets there, he's probably just gonna frivolously write more notes to to the rest of them, trying to figure out where Robert is.
And I'll say with the combination of the notes and kind of, I'd say Timber and him while they're moving through the woods, Robert kind of awkwardly shouts out from where they are, like, oh, wait, we got another one. We got another note. But
Just
over
as
time,
former.
yeah.
Wait, when we would be traveling, it would be fine too, because when we'd be traveling, Timber would be a wolf at this point.
Yeah.
Through it, and so Timber would just look at him like, I can't talk to you right now.
But he would insist on talking to you, like
Right.
not telling Embla. He'd be like, he just pulled a note and be like, hey, can you read while you're like this? Can you read? But Cal, could I get you to give me a quick stealth check just for the or if there's something else you think would be better for that, for concealing
Help
your.
work for Tim.
Okay.
14.
14. Okay. So looking at it, you're like, this is pretty good. Like you it's not overdone. 90% of people will not notice this.
Yeah.
And there's kind of that small bit of wetland reeds that make it even harder to find. So you're
Also
in
like
good
pitch
shape.
dark, so
Yeah.
right now I'm not worried. It's like
Totally. In the short term,
Tomorrow.
this is of no concern. And I'd say as you're doing that, Wiswick, you kind of find a spot where you see Kieran is just tending to Scarlet as you're kind of looking out for your friends, watching Cal to make sure as he's working, no one's sneaking up on him. As Kieran seems to be deep in thought as he's occasionally moving Scarlet's leg and making a getting to know the wound a bit more, the break a bit more, so he can, when you are safer, mend it. And shortly after, we're not going to do any absurd roll to find each other. You eventually hear some stepping through the trees. You're cautious at first, but then you see the familiar woven form of Timber step out, and you see with him is Robert and Embla.
I nod to Timber since he's a wolf.
He'll shift for this.
Oh, Good. Any trouble?
A little bit. Robert, right into more trouble than.
I look
Yeah.
at Robert in a concerned fashion.
I look at Robert in a disappointed and frustrated fashion.
It's funny because Robert looks to Cal with like a cowed, like a disappointed dad look, and doesn't look at Wiswick. But he just says, your prisoners got away. These big guys came and kicked the doors down. I heard a commotion downstairs, and then one of them came upstairs, and I hid, tried to hide. I turned and looked, and poof, that creepy guy disappeared. And then I heard commotion downstairs, and one of the guys came upstairs, and then she came in after him and just took him out. And she threw me a dagger and said, "Go hide in the other room." And I did it. And I killed one of them. It was a mess.
It's better if you talk to him in the morning. He's pretty drunk right now. He needed it.
And he just holds up a bottle that was half full and is now like, it's got like maybe 4 shots left in it.
I just walk over and I like just put my hand on his shoulder and I'm like, "Hey, it's all right. You did your best.
There's so much blood. Ugh.
I know. Well, sleep works. I would recommend getting some rest if we can, and we'll talk about it in the morning."
Thank you.
I look to Embla.
Okay.
And I kind of like I want to assess her a little, you know?
Yeah.
Because like she was just the tavern keeper, you know. So so now it's kind of like all right. I'd like to actually roll to see if I can spot like how many weapons, like if she's like really packing, or if it's just like the one knife or whatever.
Give me either an insight or perception check.
It's an 18 on perception.
Okay. So she's you could get the vibe that there was a quick exit. So she's not really in a concealed state. She's in fairly like, I needed to grab what I could grab. So you do notice that there is half plate armor over her standard clothes, and really just a half plate chest piece with a bit of a skirt to it and some small pauldrons, but no, it's not like a full-on hardcore setup. Just a little better than studded leather. And you see that this very nice longsword at her waist that you immediately pin as Gwyn design. Reminder that she is half elf, half Gwyn, half human. And judging by her accent, presumably grew up in the Gwyn Empire. And you would know that. And then you'd see at her other side is a small dirk. That is dirk. Just made me think of our kobold friend from another game. A small dirk that is at her waist. And it's a general belt that has other pockets and whatnot and different things attached to it, a satchel, but those are the 2 primary weapons that you spot immediately on her person.
So I'll take all this in and I'll just nod to her and go, "Thank you for helping my friends here."
They did not have much choice when they came to my establishment. I do believe whatever happened, whatever you were in my city, I don't think it is safe for me to go back. As I presume, judging by your current state, it is not safe for you to go back either.
And honestly, we should get moving now, so thank you. Let's talk about this on the road.
Your cart is a couple 100 yards back.
All right, we have to move.
Scarlet, can she?
We have to.
Is she
Leg's
healed?
still broken, and she's still unconscious after they. Oh right, you went there. We were attacked in the canal.
By what?
In this.
You moved through the sewers.
Yeah, there was a an octopus thing.
Yeah, it's an oobleaf,
Kraken?
I think. Some sort of garbage-eating monster. You know, the kind that live in sewers and just feast on filth.
But also apparently on us. So.
Well, I suppose we can talk more about it when we are safe. And she'll immediately start walking back towards the carts.
Cal, can you carry Scarlet on your back?
I nod and like look to Kieran like, How should we
Lovely.
move? How should we do this?
Well, she's quite injured. But I think if we carry her carefully together, she'll be okay.
Yeah, I
Wait,
followed
but
his
you-
lead
Yeah.
on how to do that. But-
Yeah, and he kind of instructs you to grab her under her arms so that he can hold her by the legs to try to prevent any further damage to the bone. And you tread carefully through the woods with her. And easy enough, well, not easy enough, it's a bit difficult with Scarlet. You do find your way back to the carts. Embla left ahead of you, and you moved somewhat slow with Scarlet, so she's already at the road by the time you get to, or already kind of leading with the dwarf her cart to the road. And by the time you get your cart up to the road and kind of ready to go, she's actually like a good 200 yards back up the road, just like looking out and keeping an eye out. You kind of see her off alone there as you see the dwarf is just sort of leaning on his arms in his own cart, occasionally patting the horses, and just looks to each of you. Aye, you guys look like shite.
Well, I would say that normally looks are deceiving, but tonight, perhaps not, Master Dwarf.
Aye,
Wait,
well,
you said he was a dwarf, right? I just
yes,
totally.
he is a
okay.
dwarf. He is a dwarf. I said it several times.
You did. It was one of those that came out of my mouth, and I went, "Did he say he was a dwarf?"
Or are you just assuming the Scottish
Yeah.
accent is dwarf?
Yeah.
It's funny. I'm trying to find my notebook, but he has a name. It's not in this notebook. Well, I'll get it in a moment.
Let's call him Darius.
Darius, Mr. Darius.
Mr. Darius.
No, but doesn't matter for now. So Embla is off alone, and then you see as you're getting ready, she comes back and looks to Timber and Cal, who she sort of seems to have presumed there's some sort of Timber because she's who she found, and Cal because you seem authoritative. Just looks and says, I believe that me and your friends escaped from the city might bring some unwanted attention to these roads.
That might be the case, and we should move immediately.
I do not.
Here we go.
How long can you ride for through the night? It must be approaching 4 a.m.
Kieran, I know you don't need a lot of sleep. Can you rest in the back for a bit while I ride the cart, ride the horses?
I will do as I must. It will be good for me to watch after Scarlet as well. But I will rest as best I can.
Others can rest in the cart as well, while I exhaust myself.
Okay, so who is cart? Who is riding horses?
Well, I think we got a spatial problem.
Yeah, probably.
Yes, you do. Yeah, you
'Cause
can only really fit.
Scarlet needs to be in the cart.
Yeah, like Scarlet, you're gonna have to lay down in the cart, and then realistically, you'll be able to fit one person in there with her, and then if maybe you can fit 2 people in there with her.
But we're real close. We're real friendly.
It's tight though. Yeah, it's tight. Yeah, because you'd be essentially she needs to be positioned so that she's somewhat flat, and maybe Wiswick, I guess, could be on the other side, standing
Curl
on
up
the
into a
seat.
ball somewhere.
But 2 of you would be cramped on one side of the cart, sitting over her. So 2 people can be in the cart at the same time. And Curon is going to be in the cart, and Curon is 7 feet tall, so he takes up a lot of space despite how thin he is.
Bizik, why don't you rest with Kieran?
Well, I don't want to be crowded in there. I mean, I really want to rest, but maybe I could just rest in the back of a horse or something.
Wiswick,
I
I'd
don't
say
think
that
it works that way.
you
fall
would
off the
actually
horse.
be able to sit comfortably in there with Curon, because it's like what you think of, 2 bench seats and then a floor. Scarlet's on the floor, Curon sitting over her. You could actually ostensibly lie down on the other bench seat and rest.
All right. I think Wiswick, before hopping in the cart to go relax, just pulls over Robert and says, if you listen to what I told you to do, you wouldn't be like this. You know that, right?
Hey, man. I had 2 creeps in there with me. And I killed a man tonight. But I should have read the note.
Yeah, you shoulda.
And I mean, Wiswick, it's enough for tonight. We'll talk about it later, yeah?
Yeah. I mumble off, speaking to myself, saying, I'm surrounded by bad guys that kicked all their butts.
Okay,
Give
so
me a day.
so a few things to note. Okay, so Wiswick and Curon and Scarlet are in the back of the cart. Who is driving the cart? Timber is driving the cart. Cal, are you going to be on a horse? Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
All right.
So
Probably. I think makes the most sense.
yeah, so I'm going to say that Robert is going to be with Timber in the front, kind of resting, because there's spots for 2 people at the front. And actually, well, no, their cart's full, so you wouldn't really be able to. Anyone wouldn't really be able to rest over there. But that's everybody. So Embla takes the front with the dwarf in the other cart. She looks back to you all and just sort of nods to you, Timber, to lead the way. And you can start heading off.
Yeah, I lead the way and try to transition my way, which I think, like, I want to go a little bit more. So we're on the southwest side, right?
Correct.
So I want to.
So there's a road that leads south to Drift March.
Okay.
There was at least
I think we're supposed to be on the southeast side, based on my memory of the map.
It's flipped for Sean, so it looks east
Right.
to us, but it's west.
Yeah. Looking
Okay.
at, if you look at the map picture in the chat, our chat, you'll see that the south, the way the river runs. I mean, realistically, ostensibly, you could get to the north on either side of the river because it's running from the north. But so like that, but you wanted to go on the southwest
okay,
side.
I understand now.
Because there was more of a berth that you could go because the river bends. So the southeast side, you'd have to get pretty close to the city to kind of keep your pace.
Right,
so
right,
something-
we're headed dead. Right, okay, never mind.
Yeah. So something to note is that there is you're heading on a southern road that really goes straight to Drift March. There isn't really another. There's not like really an established crossroad at any point. So if you're are you just trying to go south and then find a space to hide, or are you trying to curve up?
We're
and
trying to
start
curve
heading
up.
north? Okay. So there is no like comfortable curve up. You know what I mean? Because the road north, you're on the road north. Because
So-
there's you actually no. Looking at the map, you could eventually find a crossroad and start heading. What I'm saying is, as soon as you start to go north, you might have to go into the wilderness.
Right.
Okay.
Hey, Sean, how wide is this river?
The river itself is pretty wide. I'd say it's like a good like 250 feet wide.
So, Wiswick's gonna go up to Cal and say, you know, remember that thing I put in your pocket, like, forever ago?
Yeah, actually, I do. My only concern is we would have to ditch the horses and the wagons.
Well, it's a pretty large... maybe the horses could fit on it. I don't know about the wagons.
But
We're
let's
talking-
say
For everyone else, Cal has a
it
feather
is fucking
token.
huge. Holy shit!
It's very large. It's like a legit boat.
Yep, 20 feet wide, 50 foot long.
It's a long boat, really.
Wow.
That you could shaped like a swan.
Wow.
Just saying, everybody needs rest right now, and if we're going downstream,
We aren't.
It's gonna
We're going up current, I think.
That would take you straight to Drift March. If you wanted to go up current, you'd probably not want to do that because it would take you right back to Orangeshire.
Under the bridges at Orangeshire.
Yeah.
I think we have to curve away from the city, and into the wild sounds like the best idea at the moment, actually, especially if they're going to be coming along the roads like Embla said.
Correct.
Oh wait, hold on. The
Also,
boat is self-propelled
It is so.
and moves at a speed of 6 miles per hour.
But either way, it's still going to pass through Orangeshire.
Yeah, it's
And
going to draw a lot of attention.
It's not subtle. It's
and also,
50
you guys
foot by
are
20-foot boat.
you guys are like 2.5 hours away from sunrise.
Yeah.
By the way, I did get information for us to head north. That is where they will be. He looks over at Scarlet to make sure she's
Asleep?
yeah, unconscious or sleeping.
She's unconscious back there, and you can see that Huron is. Huron's resting at this point. He's not tending to her because he's taking his 4-hour rest so that he can eventually take over.
We know where Thatcher is, but I believe that's where my wife might be.
Oh, really?
Yes,
Excellent.
I got some information while I was getting Scarlet's stuff back.
Okay. Your lead. I'll ride rear guard then.
Understood.
So I guess my big question is how far. So do you want to look for a crossroad and then start heading? Because they wouldn't head directly where you wanted to go. They might head northwest or westward.
Yeah. Any indication that like I can
Turn
northward.
Northwest is our general direction
Yes.
because it's away from the city and towards where we want to go.
Right. We can
Yeah.
make a circle around.
So anywhere in this arc, we could go on.
Yeah.
Yeah, so there's the river comes straight down from Taramran, which is the elven forest where you learned your wife might be. So realistically, you want to try to get away from the city. The further away from the city you get, or off the main road the city's on, the more it's going to eventually become northeast that you want to go, because they did specify it was upriver, where the facility was, where you presume your wife might be.
I think it's fine if we just need to get out from the city first, and we can eventually curve back to meet up with the river.
Correct.
Okay.
That is the safest plan.
So more westerly at the moment.
Great.
Is the goal.
That's perfect. And how long do you want to go, Timber, before you switch off?
4 hours. So that Huron gets his rest, and then I swap with him.
Okay. And Wiswick, you're just gonna rest. You need to take a long rest.
Yeah, I definitely want to take a long rest. If I have any time in between, most likely be just doing what Wiswick usually does on the road, which is like tracking the area and trying to map out where like everything is essentially.
Yeah, you could definitely start doing that in some of the lulls where you might not be 100% sleeping. When the sun starts to come up, you can kind of start to like compare your notes because you've already gone up this road and mapped it, but just like double checking it, making sure you got things right, easy enough to do over the 8 hours that you'll be resting.
Talk to the dwarves and maybe what's her name, Embla, and see what they know about the areas around here, like what types of landmarks to be looking out for.
Yeah. So I'd say it takes you pretty close to the full 4 hours before you find a crossroad. I'd say you're approaching that the latter half of that last fourth hour. The sun's completely up at this point. It's approaching 8 a.m. You're all exhausted. You could do 4 Constitution saving throws if you want, but I think it's safe to say Timber and Cal have a point of exhaustion.
I might be able to pull out 4 Constitution saving
If you
throws.
want to roll for him, you can.
I will try.
So roll 4 Constitution saving.
I don't have proficiency in con saving.
I do have proficiency in con, so
I'm assuming I'm not.
I failed
the
first one. I failed the first one.
I
So,
forget
okay, so
exhaustion.
you have-
I
actually-
need a 10 or a 15 every time.
You have to beat a 10.
Okay, first one passes.
Actually, you need to give me 4. Give me 3 more.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
I'm doing it right now.
No, I was talking to Timber.
Oh,
Okay, I passed the second one.
second one was 11.
Okay.
so that's
Definitely
close.
passed the third one.
Good.
And you said 10, right?
Yep.
Okay, all right, I just make it.
Okay, so
If I
that's
need
good.
a 10, does it work?
Yeah.
Yeah! Huzzah! Roll
So
a
Cal,
6.
you didn't get any, right? You
I
passed
passed them all. Yeah.
Great. All right. So Timber, you have 1 point of exhaustion, but I'm assuming once the 4th hour ends, you're just gonna rest in the back and get rid of that.
Yeah, I'm gonna take the cloak too and just like cover
Yeah.
the brown cloak
Okay.
I
So
took from.
I mean, this road is fairly safe at this point. Because you're ahead of the those pursuing you. You didn't really tarry at all as you were planning your escape. So you approach this last hour. Within this last hour, one thing that strikes you is that you do pass that burnt out wagon that you had seen when you were entering the city. It's just like a stark reminder of like nowhere's really safe in Zverwold. As you can see, kind of like the grouped footprints that head to the west, and the husks of the former pilots of this wagon. And it's shortly after that, maybe an hour, the last hour, that you find a very small road that goes westward from the main road. Where the main road is thick, where 2 carts could drive side by side on it. This is narrow and a bit more bumpy and harsher, but it is heading west, slightly northwest. So you can exchange pilots if you'd like. As you can see, Curon is coming awake at this point from his meditations. If you would like to switch off and take your long rest, Timber.
Yeah, I'll tell him the general direction that we're going in.
Is there a point when you want to stop, or do you want to just kind of keep going as long as you can?
Kind of keep going as long as we can. We want to just keep because we
need distance. So.
Yeah, we need distance.
Okay. All right. So, Cal, what would you like to do at this point?
Well, Wiswick still needs another 4 hours.
Correct.
And now Timber's using the cart, and because I passed my constitution save, so I'll push it for another 4.
Okay.
Until Wiswick wakes up, and then I'll take his spot.
All right. So
uncomfortably, probably.
You continue northwest on this road. You start to hear the sounds of the river disappearing. The further westward you go, Cal, you start to notice kind of in between your eyes dazing. Curon notices like the land getting quite hilly further westward, and a lot of small mountains with steep cliff sides. You occasionally see over a rolling hill, and a higher point of the road, you can see there are farms and tillage, kind of between this westward road and the northward road. There's sort of wildlife along the roadside, but then deeper in, there seems to be some tillage. You'll occasionally see smokestacks coming from small little cottages and farms, as the workers are beginning their work day.
I'd like to, as I've been riding, I've been keeping an eye behind us, just so you know.
Okay. Give me a perception check.
Also, don't forget that Curon has a passive perception of 25. Just want to let the
Well,
DM
Sean,
know
it's
that.
a natural 20. This roll is brought to you by Talon and Claw.
Natural 20. Okay. So, I'd say occasionally you'll notice you'll hear like some scurrying in the woods. You'll hear snapping of branches, flying by flocks of springtime birds that just sort of cause you to tense up for a moment. But every time you look past over your shoulder, you don't notice anyone following you or making. The horizon is empty as far as people chasing you seems to be.
All right.
You at this point you feel quite comfortable that you're in you're in the sticks. You're out in the countryside.
Then I would also like to occasionally, whenever I like ride back up to the carts, to the wagons, I just want to throw an eye over everyone, specifically with an eye towards Scarlet, making sure that she's not like twisted her leg, and then just keep going back and forth, kind of.
Yeah, you see Wiswick is wrapped up in their kind of notebook, kind of pushed up against the side of the cart as he's cuddled up against it. You see Scarlet is you do notice that she is occasionally kind of like twitching in her sleep from
tossing
discomfort.
fitfully, maybe.
Tossing fitfully, a great way to describe it. A look of pain every now and then as her eyes might flutter open a little, but close again quickly. Timber is curled up in a ball, with his cloak on him. In that way, you see dogs on like TikTok or Vine that like grab a blanket and wrap themselves in it somehow. He has done that with a brown cloak in his woven form to fit better in there, I presume. Yeah. Curon is deep in stoic thought. You can only imagine there's a lot of things rushing through his head after seeing that pallid mask. Embla and the dwarf are keeping a distance from you. They seem to keep their cart a good 40 feet ahead of yours, or behind yours, as Curon is leading the way. And they don't really make much eye contact with you when you ride back to keep an eye on the rear.
Okay. Once I'm like confident that we're clear, like once I really start feeling, after we're 5 hours, 6 hours out, whatever it is, I'm gonna ride up to Embla's wagon.
Okay.
And I'm gonna toss her a purse worth probably about 25 to 30 gold.
Before you do that, I'd like you to give me 2 Constitution saving throws, as this would be approaching the second hour on this second.
That's fair. That's a 22 and a 13.
All right,
I forgot I had proficiency in fucking con saving.
Yeah. So you're kind of like I imagine you're kind of like about to go back there, and you're just sort of like,
yep.
Well,
wake up.
Tim, did you fail any of them? Yet?
No, I haven't. I rolled a 10 on one, which was a 6 plus 4.
I guess. Okay, I messed that up actually, because technically it's supposed to increase in difficulty every roll.
That's what I assumed.
And also,
and
I'm pretty sure the first level gives you disadvantage on ability checks.
He doesn't have it though. He doesn't have to, and this is a saving throw anyway. So I'll just say, because it's 6 rolls that you did, I'll say that 13 did fail. So you do have 1 point of exhaustion.
Okay.
All right.
That's fine. I'm out of here in 2 hours. So.
Yeah. All right. So you go up to Embla and you toss to her a bag of 30 gold pieces. It sort of lands in her lap, and she kind of grasps it, keeping it in, and she looks to the dwarf and back to you and just goes, "What is this for?"
Well, I believe we put everything on a tab at your tavern, so that's clearing it, I believe. I can't remember all of it, but that should be about right.
Give me a quick
math check.
No, not a math check. Give me a quick persuasion check. You have disadvantage on it because it's a skill check, but there's not anything necessarily bad that's going to come from this. It's more
I rolled a 16 and a 15, so that's a 19.
All right. So she is, I wouldn't say smitten is not the right word. She just sort of smirks and laughs over to the dwarf and kind of picks it up and drops it into his lap. He's like, "Oi, oh." And she just looks back at you, kind of in this position of you guys are fairly equal with the horse into the cart seat, but she's kind of keeping her head high, looking forward. She says, "I do believe that will suffice for your tab."
I just nod to her. I just nod to her and smirk and go back to rear guarding.
Okay. Give me a second perception check and then 2 con saving throws.
Well, I have a disadvantage on all of these, right?
Not just the perception check.
Just the perception check?
Just the perception check, yeah, because they're
okay.
saving throws.
I don't see anything, Sean. So nat 1.
Okay. So the sleepiness and the exhaustion is starting to get to you as you kind of try to keep your eyes looking back every now and then, but you find yourself sort of drifting forward, occasionally leaning toward on the back of the horse, kind of struggling to keep your eyes open, but also like starting to really feel the pain from the battle the night prior and the fall that you
Yeah, I like
had.
broke a rib, didn't I?
Yeah, you're bruised a
Or
rib.
was
You
very
bruised
close
a rib,
to. Yeah.
You definitely bruised your
I
ribs
took a
little.
clubbing from a troll, so I
Took a
think
clubbing
I
from a
definitely
troll
hurt
and then
something.
fell down into that pit.
Yeah.
So I'd say, yeah, you're sore all over. Like you definitely bruised some ribs. You're definitely like kind of everything's starting to hurt now.
Yeah.
In that way, like you're walking all day and then you get home and sit down and you're like, wow, I'm in such pain.
I got a 15 and a 14 on the.
Okay, I'll say that the 14 fails. So you have 2 points of exhaustion. When we finally get to that 8-hour mark, Wiswick, you have taken a long rest now and are awake. I'd say Robert is awake as well, but wincing a little as he drank a lot of whiskey in a short amount of time. Timber still needs 4 more hours of rest. Scarlet, you are. I'll say that you can take a long rest.
Mhm.
And you can be up to full health and all,
Mhm.
but it's not going to heal your broken leg.
That's fine. Do you want me to? You just said full health. Never mind. Okay, cool. Thank you.
Don't question my charity.
No, not what I was doing.
Okay then. No. All right, but you are still unconscious. I'd say that by this point, if you would like, Shin,
Mm.
you can come awake.
I think
I'll give you the choice to stay in
Yeah.
your unconscious state, or you can come to sort of weak consciousness.
Yeah. Is Kieran planning on taking care of my leg at any point soon, or is he gonna wait till we stop?
He's gonna wait till you stop. Your leg is splinted though.
Okay.
Like he splinted your leg. Actually, no, it's not. He just knows. He examined it. He's waiting to splint your leg for when you eventually stop.
Okay. So what I'll say is I'll be awake, but I'm not gonna be saying anything. Just
Slightly catatonic.
barely conscious.
Okay. So, Cal, as you kind of start to head back there to find...
If this were a show, are we doing that, like, boom, you get all the sound of, like, every like, half image she sees as she, like, fades in and out?
Yeah. Well, yeah, you get that kind of, like, whip the camera in a figure 8, and it's all slow the shutter
And then it
speed
blacks
down,
out.
and then it blacks out.
And then it comes back, and we're in a different place, yeah.
Exactly, yeah. Like
Awesome.
100% what it is.
Yeah,
Harry
it's
itself.
like you got that POV where she's coming out of the water, coming to consciousness, falling onto the boat, looking up and seeing Kieran's face, and then vroom.
Can you film people? Stop.
It's
having
gonna be
such a
okay.
party?
Yeah, exactly. You're gonna be fine. And then it opens up to shakiness, and then
And-
looking up and seeing the
and
back
then
of the
she turns
cart.
down. She turns down, and there's a guy who's like, "Oh, you're awake."
Exactly. Yeah. And then she's on the back of a cart in Skyrim. But yeah, no, Scarlet, you kind of come to in this haze, kind of you for a second you're about to try to lift yourself, but there's immediate shriek of pain shooting up from your leg, and you're still damp from being in that water, and it smells horrible. And there's this pulsing pain in your leg now, where it's like it feels like there's like an internal infection, like that kind of pulsing, heated pain, where you can't move it, so you can't readjust it for comfort. So you just kind of like you have to grit through it, but you feel like that you're at the very least don't feel as completely destroyed as you did trying to sit in that dungeon. Like you can feel the temperate spring day outside. You can hear birds. You can see the sun, the trees behind you. As you see the back of the cart, and you can see another cart 40 feet down the road following you. You turn to your left, and you see Timber curled up in a ball, sleeping with a cloak on him in his woven form. You turn to your right, and you see Wiswick as he is also waking up from his long rest. And you see kind of slowing down behind the cart on a horse, you can see Cal, who has never looked more exhausted than you see him right now. The last time you saw him this bad was after he was in the mouth of a hydra. As he's just sort of on this sad look on his face on this equally sad looking horse that's also very tired, as the horses are starting to get tired as well. But you are awake, and as catatonic as you'd like.
Yeah. As like just for flavor, seeing Cal looking that sad, like it's just gonna make her feel even worse. Just so guilty. And Shannon knows they're not there, but Scarlett doesn't. She looks around for Caleb and her brother.
You do not obviously see Caleb or your brother. You kind of peek up and you can see Kieran piloting the cart. You just see the back of him. You can't see much. You see Robert kind of leaning up against the front of the cart. Kind of his head is, I'm imagining this cart has like the way trucks have like that window to the front. And you just see Robert's head kind of like leaning against it, and you can see like there's blood all over Robert from when he killed that bruiser. So like you see Robert is covered in blood, dried blood, as he's for a second you'll think he's just dead, but then you see him just like is there anything you'd like to do? Cal, you see that Scarlett is waking up at this point. Wiswick, you are also waking up and seeing Scarlett waking up at this point.
She's not going to say anything.
Morning, sunshine. Hey, Kyle, look who's awake.
Oh, good. Wiswick, switch with me. I kind of need to sit down, to be honest.
Okay.
I have, if you were to put my exhaustion on a scale of 1 to 6, I would say I'm at a 2.
Did I literally just wake up, or did I prepare my spells yet?
I'd say you could have prepared your spells already if you want to.
Okay, awesome.
Yeah, so you Scarlett, you would have turned to see Wiswick studying his spell book.
So yeah, I tuck my book away into my trench coat and hop out the back of the cart and look for Jasper and just quickly, attempt to mount him and say, "Yeah, go ahead, Cal."
Yeah, Jasper is Jasper is tied at the end of the line. Scarlett, you would have also seen the horses kind of tied up to the wagon following along. Wiswick, you can easily enough hop onto Jasper. Cal, you can tie up your horse that has not been named because he hasn't earned a name, correct?
Yeah.
You can tie him up as well.
He's not done anything particularly impressive, nor even anything particularly cowardly. He's just been a horse.
And this is that moment in the video game where like the NPC gets into the cart you're in, and it's like your vision is automated by the cutscene. But Scarlett, you kind of like in your state, you're not really moving much. You're just sort of staring off into the day outside, the warmth and the peace that's out there, despite the horrors that are beyond your periphery. As Cal kind of positions himself above you, you kind of have to like move yourself a little bit, even though it hurts a little. But Cal kind of tries to avoid stepping in your space, and he kind of you see him position himself in the corner of the cart, kind of getting ready to rest himself.
As he's getting ready to rest, Scarlett's still not up to talking quite yet, but she is going to whisper to him, "I'm so sorry."
We're all here. Because he's kind of just like... He says that basically through closed eyes. You know?
Yeah.
And he almost not totally in control of his hand, like pats her on the shoulder. And then his hand just like dangles there off the edge of the bench as he falls asleep.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, Cal's head is in the corner as the hand pats your shoulder and then falls down.
My hat over my eyes.
Yeah, his hat sinks naturally over his eyes with his other hand. It's just immediately asleep and resting. So, Scarlet, you're in the back, somewhat taking in the scene. Wiswick, you're in the back of your cart's line on Jasper. It's sort of like the doldrum of this journey is heavy, in the sense of it's a very boring road, and there's a lot of danger behind you. Curon is stoically piloting the cart, driving the cart. And you are going to continue, I presume, until everyone's long rested.
A little bit of a retcon.
Okay.
As I tied my horse up to the cart, like to get in,
Yeah.
I would have said, Q, don't go more than another 4 hours, and then we'll find a spot to stop.
I think that's quite wise. As Cal, you drift off into sleep, into a somewhat restless sleep, but still rejuvenating sleep, as there's a lot of weight on your shoulders from the last few days and weeks. Dreams of the faces of those you've killed, but also the faces of monsters that you fought, and the seething face of Thatcher as he sputters blood from the wound you gave him. These images flash through your mind as you attempt to rest for the next 8 hours.
I'll take what I can get.
Yeah. So the day continues, this long journey for another 4 hours. Curon kind of is closing his eyes as well a little bit. Not tired, but bored. Timber, you had your hand up?
Oh no, Clayton is freaking out.
Oh,
Clayton's not fixed. He's got to fix his lighting.
But
It's kind of working now. I just need to lean a little.
4 hours go by, and Curon leads the cart as much off the road as he can at this point. It's fairly thick timber forests at this point. So there's a bit of a dead brush area where he can bring the cart off, but you'll have to really lead it into somewhere to hide at a certain point. Embla and the dwarf also pull off to the side as Timber, you come awake from your long rest. Cal, I'll give you you can continue resting, or you can wake up, but you'll only get a short rest.
Continue.
I'll continue unless voices begin to be raised.
Okay. So Cal, you kind of notice, you kind of in that way you're in like a bus going somewhere, and halfway through some people jostle around you. And you're like, nah. You lift up your head, and then put it back down with a Geralt grunt.
I'm not that cool. Come on.
Yeah, I know. You're still 20. But everyone kind of is up and awake at this point. You notice Embla and the dwarf, though, look wildly exhausted. They took turns kind of resting, but it seems like neither of them really got a full, long rest. As there are bags under their eyes, and they're sort of feebly get off the cart. But Curon, Timber, Wiswick, Scarlet, maybe not moving, but awake. What would you all like to do?
Wiswick's gonna just rush up to Embla's cart. Who's driving?
I'd say at this point, what is this? This is 12 hours later. So it's about midday. I say the dwarf was the last one driving. They kind of dwarf drove, rested, and then she drove. Or yeah, I'll say the dwarf has the reins. And seems as though he's recently taken over as Embla was resting, but they've gotten off the cart and they're kind of stretching and yawning. The cart's been pulled up pretty close to your guys.
Okay, so we're at a standstill right now?
Yes, Curon's stopping because Cal said not to go further than 4 hours, but also it seems like a good time to start thinking about. You've been heading on a slightly northwest westward path for the last 8 hours. So at this point, it's really, you should start thinking about moving northward. If that's your intention.
Wiswick's going to begin just like sort of doing things to prepare camp. Like he's gonna head down the path that led to this location where we've decided to rest, and maybe further down to the east, he's gonna set up an alarm spell.
Visik, where are you going?
Don't worry, I'm just gonna set up some alarms to make sure nobody sneaks up on us. I think we deserve a little break. The horses definitely do.
Okay. Hey, good job. By the way.
Thanks, Timber. You too. I think we really carried the team here this time.
Good job.
For your reference, like as far as like distance you traveled roughly 12 miles south, so 14 miles south of the actual city, and then about 24 miles west.
That's a really good time.
Yeah.
Well, we did travel through the night, I guess. But
yeah, you traveled through the night and you were going at a normal pace. So.
Oh, I thought you were gonna say grueling.
No, if it was that, then it would be less. You would have only gone 18 miles west, which is still better than nothing. So you're in like you're clearly, like, for those of you familiar with generally, like, Cal, you're asleep right now, but just for reference, you would, based on the map, Cal, this road you're going on, you presume is a country road that heads towards western Zverwold proper, the largest part of Zverwold. So, like, you're probably in, like, if you were to look at the map and kind of where Zverwold and the forest ends, you're about, maybe 3/5 of the way down the river, and heading towards the northwest.
that's where their capital is, right? Or
yeah, it's much further away than this.
but that's where we're headed.
Exactly. Like, this road would eventually probably line up with a main road that's heading west.
After a few minutes, Wiswick comes back, and he sits down, like, kind of a little bit too close to where Scarlet is sleeping for it to be comfortable. And he doesn't say anything to her, he doesn't even look at her. He just begins doing a ritual for Find Familiar, and spending another regent that he had stocked up. And
Rip.
maybe he just mumbles to himself, "Oh, I hate this stupid spell, always casting
it." Yeah. You guys are that dot right there.
All right. Sounds like a good time to sit down and take a good drawing of the mountains range.
That's a good. Actually, you can definitely see the mountains. They're very large mountains, these ones, so you could definitely see them in the distance. That, like, faded blue look to the mountains, the snow caps.
Yeah, I'm definitely Bob Rossing right now.
Quick plug, everyone. Hang out with me in Relaxing in Paradise this week at 8:30 p.m. on Wednesday, Eastern Standard Time, where I will be transferring this map to here with a bunch of details added, which hopefully we'll be able to put on the stream in some way so folks can know where we are.
It's called a scanner, Sean.
Shut up! I have it. I have a scanner. I have a scanner. All right. That's why I'm doing it on this size paper for you, Alex, so I can scan it.
I love you.
It's on the battle
Wiswick.
cam right now. I can see where we are.
Oh, actually, that's a really funny point. Yeah. Doesn't matter. Sorry, Wiswick. Can you repeat the last thing you said you were doing?
Yeah.
He's getting jetpack.
Yeah, after doing my ritual cast, I sit down, and I'm still not saying anything to her, but I'm just awkwardly just sitting there, like, maybe just humming a positive tune and drawing and keeping myself busy.
When she hears you there, she's not looking at you. She's still, like, staring straight up. Is Caleb here?
No. But he's safe.
Where is he?
Beats me.
So how do you know he's safe?
Well, Robert let him get away. He didn't seem like the type to need protecting.
Alright, how about my brother?
I don't know about him. You're gonna want to ask Cal about that.
Is he here?
You would remember that Cal is sleeping next to you.
He's sleeping. Cal,
On
I
the
mean...
opposite side of Wiswick.
He's not here, is he?
No.
Hey, Huron, here are some of the herbs that I found for numbing the pain.
Thank you, Timber. These will prove quite useful.
Timber, where are you right now? Are you close enough where I can hear you?
I'm behind the cart, handing herbs to Huron.
Yeah,
Okay.
you'd be able to
All right.
like sort of try to lean up, and you'd see Timber there.
All right. Timber, what happened? Why isn't he here?
He's not here. We'll get him back eventually.
We're going back, right?
No, Scarlet, we're not going back. You need to rest right now.
We have to go back.
Wiswick is starting to look more and more nervous, and when she says we have to go back, he like fucks up on his painting. Like, he just like moves the.
It's like the quill snaps and the splash of ink hits it.
Oh shit! My tree is ruined.
It's a happy little accident.
You see Huron comes up behind Timber and puts a hand on his shoulder and looks to Scarlet and just says, "There'll be plenty of time to talk about where we're going next. For now, I think I need to take care of that leg."
That you do. I can run back and get you some more healing agents, if that is desired, Huron.
Please, she will be quite... If I do this successfully, she'll still have quite some pain for the next few days. Scarlet, if you would like, I can knock you out for this with a spell to reduce the pain.
Just for a little bit.
I'll wake you right when we're done. It's just a sleep spell.
All right.
As you see, he puts a hand, because he always does it, pops it on your face, and starts to mutter a prayer as you suddenly, pretty much fantasy sleeping gas, laughing gas, as he uses sleep on you, and you feel a sudden heaviness to your eyes. All right, now Scarlet, count back from 10.
Yo, seriously, have you ever done anesthesia? It's
Yes.
wild.
Yes.
It's like 10, not.
I had to pop a balloon. I had to see if I could get the balloon by breathing in. Inhaling. Didn't make it.
So Scarlet, you start to count back, and by 8, you find yourself in a deep sleep, deeper than the night prior, where you were feeling really just a rough sleep. As Wiswick and Timber, you notice Huron pulling out his reliquary, and it begins to float above him as there seems to be a controlled use of Twilight Sanctuary that comes around the cart, trying to provide extra health to Scarlet, the temporary HP, to help prevent her from waking and prevent the pain from becoming too much. As you see him begin to adjust her leg and apply a splint, and it takes a while for him to do this. So if there's other things you want to do outside of the cart, it's going to take him about an hour to get her properly splinted, but then also to properly specifically apply the healing, the cure.
Did this like break the skin? Like, was this break that bad?
This is a pretty bad break.
Yeah, it must have been like straight shat, like just.
It's a straight up broken femur.
Yeah. It's her femur. I thought it was her
Yeah,
no,
femur.
her femur
Oh,
is
that's
broken.
so bad. Okay.
Yeah,
It's like
that's
the
really
worst
bad.
bone to break.
Other than
Yeah.
like your hip or whatever. Yeah, right.
Yeah,
Oh my
exactly.
God.
No, she has a broken femur. So it takes a long time for Kieran to get things properly to reduce as much as he can the side effects afterwards of pain. She'll always have achiness in her leg for the rest of her life, but he can do as much as he can to reduce the future pain. But it's going to take a while. It's going to take a lot. And Timber, your herbs are definitely going to help. Because there's also she does have other wounds all over her, but he concentrates on that for the better part of an hour, applying the splint, making sure that is perfect as it can be before taking the last bit of the hour to apply the cure wounds appropriately. It's going to take him 2 castings of it to properly stitch the bone matter together.
Can I be looking for ingredients at that time? Or
Absolutely.
more herbs? Okay.
100%.
We don't have to be doing this. We don't have to do this now. If you,
No, we can
I can tally it.
we can resolve that later. But you can definitely spend the hour searching for herbs in the forest around here.
Wiswick finishes his painting, and he notices by the stream there's one like larger stone, kind of like a boulder, that is like smooth from the maybe getting lapped over for a while, and it's perfectly good sized round rock. And he heads over to it and sits down nearby and brings out another like page to begin drawing again. And it seems ridiculous, but he's just drawing a big rock, and he gives it like incredible amounts of details to like the granular little pieces of it. Like he spends a lot of time drawing it as accurately as possible, like having a really good picture in his head. And then after he finishes, he doesn't stop. He keeps drawing like arcane runes around like all of the parts of the like easel. I'd say it's not an easel, but that isn't rock. He's just filling in with notes that are just like a detailed description in a language that nobody can understand.
Absolutely. So you take the better part of this hour to do that as Timber is hunting for herbs. Kieran is mending Scarlet's leg. Cal is resting. Embla herself is resting at this point. The dwarf. They actually themselves kind of like hitch up in the back of their cart and on their cart to take a quick rest as well. And I'd say you can come together again at the end of this hour, Wiswick, kind of having calmed yourself a little bit from the sort of anxiety of the last day with this constant drawing of your environment around you. Timber, you come back with a handful of various reagents from the forest around as Kieran kind of is finishing up, making sure he puts the last touches on Scarlet's leg. Cal, you are resting. There's still some time before Cal will awake. What would you like to do at this point as you come back together?
Kieran, how's the leg? Do you think we should keep moving?
Oh, sorry. Kieran, it takes him. He doesn't respond at first. He's like very much hyper focused on this as you see him adjusting her leg and kind of like moving it around and looking to her for winces of pain, but also just sort of trying to make sure mobility is as much as he can cure. He looks down his. She may. It's not his voice.
Who is that?
She may. She may have a little.
Here, we can make
Well,
it sound.
I think she might need some more time. That's spot on, Kieran.
Spot on. Yeah, spot on.
Timber, I've done the best I can. She'll be able to walk on it tomorrow and put weight on it. It'll never fully be healed properly because there's just too much damage from the sewers. She may occasionally suffer from pain and a limp on harsher days, but we've regained mobility and she has been properly healed. What would ordinarily have taken months.
Good.
So Scarlet, for your
Mm.
reference, there's no like mechanical disadvantage to this,
Okay.
but you do have essentially a slightly disabled femur.
Okay.
When a
you'll-
storm comes in, you know.
Pretty much, yeah. You'll have
Okay.
pain in it occasionally, and I'm giving you this information for your role playing
Yeah.
in the future.
Sure.
There's definitely soreness that will come. That you can manage the pain however you'd like, whether that's magical means with heated rocks with your produce flame that you could put on it to provide relief.
Okay.
Whatever your imagination wants to deal with this for Scarlet.
Okay.
But it is permanent.
Okay.
It is part of who you are now.
Kieran, I can drive if you want to take a break.
This certainly took a bit out of me. I'm afraid we may be going quite slow if we have to go into those wilderness.
Okay.
We may need to clear the way several times for the carts if we're to take them.
Okay. That is doable. Wizard, how are you feeling?
I'm okay. A little busy right now. I don't think I've really left the rock.
Yeah.
I might be a little bit far away when I yell that out. And maybe I finished my drawing and I'm sitting. You see me starting to use prestidigitation to like clear out the area around the rock.
Yeah.
I see what you're doing. I don't want to disappoint you, but we should really get a move on soon. Finish up what you're doing.
I mean, come on. You could spend a little bit more time. I mean, it's just going to be a couple minutes. I promise.
Okay, fine.
I'm on a roll here.
Okay. Can I borrow a piece of parchment from you? Uzek?
I just pull one out and like quickly hand it to him without like breaking my stride. Like I'm still like looking at the ground as I give it to him, and like I start chiseling something into the ground around the rock with my pickaxe.
Thank you, Uzek.
Okay.
Afterwards, I'm gonna look for some more herbs, and I'm gonna go in the woods and write a letter.
Okay. Is this a letter that's going in your pouch, or a letter
It's a
that's
letter
being
that
burned?
is going in my pouch.
Excellent. So you spend some time away to write a letter to Sulk and place it into your pouch before coming back. When you do return, Embla does come up to you and just looks kind of tired and exhausted, coming up and looking around.
You okay, Embla? Also,
Yes.
I have not thanked you for all that you've done for us. Very much appreciate that.
Well, I am glad that you are alive. Clearly, you have gotten into some trouble with the butchers.
Yes, I have. You know, traveling exhausted doesn't give me
What?
good memories of them.
What happened? Why were you fleeing?
It's another story for another day.
She kind of looks up at, when you say another day, she looks up at kind of the sky, because it's like 4 o'clock in the afternoon at this point. She says, what is your plan?
To go north. My wife, I've got a lead on. He stops there and
Well,
says,
another day, I guess.
yes. Yeah, he stops there for a second. He's like, we're not fleeing, but the butchers just yet.
She does like kind of like she's been during this brief conversation. She's like looking around, and kind of looking up to the sky. But she looks quickly to you at that remark and says, "Well, that is what I like to hear. We will stay with you for a time, heading north. But we may part ways when we get closer to the main western road."
You do understand that this is very dangerous territory.
Trust me. I've lived in Zwarwold for nearly a decade, and I kept the butchers from taking over my tavern and intimidating me. I understand the danger that we are in, but we are safer together.
Do you have any... What is your motivation? Why are you not for the butchers?
Give me a charisma check. General.
Just a
Straight charisma.
Straight charisma check. All right.
Or persuasion if you'd like, if that's any better.
No. Oh, that's actually pretty good. For me at least. It's a 17.
Okay. That'll do. She kind of looks away, kind of. You can see in her face she's really enjoying being outside of the city. You might even surmise with your monk-like instincts that she's been cooped up in there for a while, and that maybe this half plate and sword have been itching for adventure for a while. And she sort of looks around and just says, "Well, I came to this country, Quintok, 15 years maybe ago, after my mother died. This sword," and she'll take the sword out at this point, and you'll see it's just beautifully made. This is, in the words of Game of Thrones, castle forged steel. It's just very well made. It has these etchings in it that are language you do not understand, or a runic system you do not understand. It has that sleek elegance of Gwyn smithwork and design, where it is beautiful but very utility based. And she just says, "This was my mother's, and she had done a lot of adventuring in her youth. She was one of the Gwyn. Died too early for Gwyn. And I never knew my father. But supposedly he was a Svel out here somewhere. My mother told me stories, but not too much. So I came out here to look for him. But your country is harsh. Hard to sustain and keep yourself fed. Not like Byzantium, where much is provided. So, a need to fill my belly turned into work. Work turned into a shop. A shop turned into a tavern. A tavern turned into a business. And the roots were set in that I did not intend. Roots in a garden filled with predators, carnivorous plants, the syndicate, the butchers then. And I thought I was doing good work, resisting them. By the time you came, I was just a small star in a sky filled with the void and darkness. So perhaps your arrival was destined and fated, if you believe those sort of things. So I'm curious about who you are and where you're heading. Now that I have been dislodged from those roots, and seemingly permanently, at least until the syndicate is dealt with.
So you want to deal with them?
Maybe it is the Gwyn in me, but I don't like authoritarians. I don't like those who prey upon the weak. The butchers prey on the weak. They burn the weak.
And why did you never succumb to the butchers? Why did you believe that you couldn't get more information about your father through them?
She kind of does that awkward laugh there of like, I'm not really laughing because anything's funny, but I'm just sort of trying to break the seriousness of the moment. And maybe it is Gwyn education. I don't know. I'm curious about my father, but I think I'm more curious about my mother's history and what she was doing out here. My father might provide answers, but there's more to the story than him. He does not define me, not just my mother, but I'm curious. More about her than him. And the butchers were not worth it to find him. They tried, not knowing my interests. They tried to persuade me into joining them in some way. Protection. Protection from what? Them? No. No. My mother trained me better than that. She trained me to defend myself, not to seek protection from those who would butcher the weak. So we will stay with you for as long as we can.
Those are some strong values. That is a great goal of yours.
I would like to know more about your wife. Perhaps on our journey north. You can tell me what your goals are.
Well, my goal is to bring my family back together. Get rid of this beastly form. And, see my kids again.
She smiles at you and says, "You know, there are a few things in some of the Gwyn textbooks that might have something to say about all of this fur. We should talk as we travel north,
Well,
protecting each other.
what do you mean?
I'll tell you soon. Don't worry. No guarantees." And she kind of backs away as she puts her hand up. No guarantees. Backs her way up and quickly turns on her heel with a smile to walk back towards the dwarf. Quite warmer in her, but like you met her in the tavern and there was the hospitality warmth to her, but she seems almost excited to be with you all, and returns to the cart. And you kind of look around to your friends. You look to Scarlet and playing in the cart. Curon
Yeah, Wizwick's
thinking,
yelling at you.
Yeah, Wizwick's
Calling
going,
out for
"I'm
Timber.
done with the rock."
But Timber takes a long time to like actually realize what he's doing. He's like,
Yeah. It's a strange
Oh.
moment, Timber, for a second. You're kind of like, oh, a conversation with a person for real.
yeah.
But I think it's a good time for us to take our break after that nice, poignant RP moment. We are going to take our break at this point. Shannon, I'm going
Giveaway
to give the mic over to you for the giveaway. I'm assuming you're going to have them do something, and then we'll announce when we get back from the break.
That's exactly what we're going to do. So,
Perfect. Take it away.
friends, what we're going to do, we are giving away this lovely, I pull up a visual. I thought I did. Well, I guess not. We're giving away a lovely blue and purple spell tracker from our friends at Arcane Spectacles. And the way that you can enter while we are on break, if you enter, and if somebody could put this in the chat with a space between the exclamation point and the keyword. In honor of our fighter's birthday, the keyword today is birthday boy. So enter exclamation point birthday boy into the chat, no space, and you will be entered for a chance to win. And we will pick somebody when we come back from break. Also, I'm putting a poll on chat on Twitter. I'd like to check that out as well.
So, everyone, we're going to take a 5-minute break, enjoy our lovely break video, and make sure that you enter into chat, exclamation point birthday boy, to enter into the giveaway, and we will be back in 5 minutes.
5 minutes! See you in 5.
Welcome back, everyone. Before we jump right back into the adventure, I'm going to turn it back over to Shannon to announce our lovely winner of our giveaway.
Yes.
So hope you all, real quick, right before the end of my sentence, get exclamation point birthday boy in. Because once I finish my sentence, she's going to pick a winner. I didn't have breakfast this morning. For lunch, I didn't eat lunch. For dinner, I had
Oatmeal. You had oatmeal.
I had oatmeal.
Mostly oats. It was mostly oats.
That could have been the keyword.
Shannon.
Oh God.
Winner.
Jesus Christ.
All right, so this is the first
Mostly
time we're
carbs.
using this feature, friends. So fingers crossed that it works. Here we go. Roll it.
No,
Fucking
they-
says there are no eligible users to win the giveaway. What the fuck do you mean?
Did you do it wrong?
Classic
I know
Paradise RPG.
Classic
I-
Paradise RPG.
We're losing viewers. Everyone's
Shit.
angry.
Everyone's angry, Shannon.
Oh, Shannon, did you start the giveaway?
I
Someone's
did.
saying you have to start it.
You have to
I
start
don't
it.
know where to start it. I've clicked all the buttons.
Shannon, where are you?
I'm in the night.
We should have checked with Shannon to make sure she had this all down before we let this happen.
If you're using Nightbot and a keyword, you don't need to use an exclamation point. Is
Mm.
that the problem?
Oh, that's the
I
problem.
don't think so because somebody else did that the other day.
Not
Yeah, but
everybody
we're
uses
probably
it.
not using Nightbot.
I am using Nightbot. That's what
Everyone, really quickly, everyone type birthday boy. Everyone type birthday boy.
Without the exclamation point.
Everyone, because she's using Nightbot. Everyone, just real quick. Birthday boy.
I'm sorry.
There's like one person that entered and he's gonna win.
Oh no, here we go. Everyone,
Do
quickly.
it.
I'm going to do a countdown from 20, 19, 18,
Lower.
17,
Lower.
16,
Lower.
15, 14, 13, 12, 11, 10,
15,
9,
16,
8,
35,
7,
32.
6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Shannon?
Nope, didn't work.
Oh my god. All right. Oh, everyone shut up.
I have everyone.
All right. 1, 2, 3, 4,
All right.
I have
5,
it all
6,
written
7,
down.
8.
I have it all
I'm
written
rolling
down.
a D8.
I have it written down here,
No,
Sean.
no,
In
do the
order.
ones
I have it
from
written
the
down.
You haven't figured it out, Tim? You haven't figured
Yeah,
it
I
out?
haven't figured it out.
let-
I haven't
let-
figured it out. I will do it.
Tim's got it. You just
Tim's
do
got
math.
it, everyone.
Manually. I'm doing it
Tim's-
manually.
Tim's taken over giveaways. I'm sure he wrote everyone's name down to an entry. He's going to roll a D.
I'm rolling a d20. I've worked the percentages out. I'll tell you who gets it.
Guys, it wouldn't be
I'm
Paradise
so
RPG
sorry.
if we didn't fuck up the first time we
It's
rolled
Nick.
something out.
It's Relic.
Is
No
it?
way!
Oh shit!
Yeah,
No, it's
Oh,
not.
it is.
He was just giving Pat shit for winning everything.
He was. Oh my god.
Oh my god.
All right, so
Congratulations,
Relic,
Nick.
know your role. You are the winner of a lovely Arcane Spectacles spell slot tracker, right?
Yep, spell slot tracker. It's
Uh,
purple and blue.
You can, Shannon will DM you.
I'm also gonna be DMing people to figure this out.
Yeah, Shannon,
so
our next
sorry.
giveaway.
I'm not.
We should test it
At
next
least
time.
test it,
50%
yeah.
more professional.
You know what? The funny thing is, this is how we did our first giveaway too, with the unearthed, or underground oracle thing. I counted everyone who was in chat, and I rolled a dice to get it. So,
Yeah.
good old fashioned dice chances. So blame Talon and Claw if you didn't win.
No, blame me because Shannon didn't test this. I'm
totally fine
No,
with
you
that.
can send all your complaints to @sroby25 on Twitter.
Who wants
so-
to know? I assigned an appropriate amount of numbers per entrant on a d20, and then counted.
Thank you.
Okay. So, but regardless, Relic, Nick, congratulations.
DM me, Nick.
Shannon, I think you should DM him. We're giving it away. We should
Yeah.
be putting it on the giveaway winner to reach out to us.
Can we just go, please? Can we move on? Just move on.
Okay.
I'll run
please.
giveaways. Move on.
I'm good with this. Let's do some magic.
All right, folks. Shannon will take care of this. We have our winner. It is Relic. It is Nick.
To be fair.
To
be
be
fair.
to be fair.
To
To be fair.
To be fair. All right, folks. We're gonna jump back into some D&D after that hilarious moment of Paradice RPG Gold. So we left off where everyone was performing somewhat of a small ritual of sorts to do what they want. Timber was pursuing herbs in the forest. Wiswick was carefully examining a rock, a large boulder by the forest edge, while Kieran was finishing healing Scarlet's leg. Timber had come back and had a brief conversation with Embla, learning some of her motivations for why she's helping them. And it was at that point when Embla was heading back to her cart that we took a break. We'll come back to this moment. Wiswick, I know you wanted to do something before we jumped ahead to Cal waking up and to Scarlet waking up. So Wiswick, what would you like to do?
Wiswick is going to try an experiment. First he was calling for Timber, so Timber,
That's
get
true.
over here!
What is it, Wiswick? Yes, I'm here.
You know that gift I gave you a while ago? You keep trying to pawn it back to me? I need to look at it for a second.
I wasn't trying to pawn it back to you. I just thought that you might use it better, and I hold it out to him, the orb.
Yeah, I'll give it back. I just need it for a second.
Okay.
Wiswick kind of just holds the orb in his hand, and he's just like, his eyes are closed, and he's just like breathing in, and he's trying his best to sense what type of magic is in this orb, and replicate it. Like he's just trying to keep a mental image of what is making this thing tick. And
give me an Arcana check real quick.
Okay, great. And he's comparing it to his current notes from the last time he leveled up. And he's just like making just writing out different equations and stuff like that. I rolled a 14 plus 10, 24.
Okay, so easily enough to identify the school of magic of this orb is conjuration, with some dabs of enchantment in the sense that it's been enchanted, but it is largely the magic held tight within the orb is conjuration, which you're quite familiar with.
So I don't know how well Timber's been paying attention, but Wiswick has made a teleportation circle around the rock that is very similar to the ones that he's seen in the past. He's seen many teleportation circles in the past. There was one in the tower with the Fae. There was another few in another dimension that he was teleported to.
Yes.
And most recently, there was one that led to some sort of hellscape that was underneath Driftmarch.
Yes, so just for reference, and you would know this, that teleportation circle didn't lead to the Hells. The tuning fork that was floating there is what had opened that portal. They were just using the innate magic of that teleportation circle to fuel that portal. But that teleportation circle just leads to that chamber.
Wiswick, I've seen these before. Are you teleporting a rock?
Well, possibly. I'm not really sure what'll happen, but that's the goal.
You're experimenting?
Well, yeah. I mean, there's a lot of variables. It's not a very effective experiment, but I've got to start somewhere.
Okay. Well, I'm going to back up a little bit before you start this, and
Yeah, probably a good idea.
Okay.
So what are you making this teleportation circle out of? Are you just carving it into the ground around it?
Yeah, so Wiswick cleared any grass or anything that was in the way and just basically like flattened the earth, and he's essentially he took his pickaxe and he's like chiseling out the like etching essentially. If it's dirt, he like tries to make it as smooth as possible. Like he puts intricate detail not to have like any like smudges or anything like that.
And of the teleportation circles you've written down the information for, which one are you replicating?
I'd say probably the he would focus on the Fey one, the one that was teleporting to the Feywild.
Sure.
Because it was the one that he just had the most time.
It's definitely your most accurate depiction, yeah.
Right, and yeah, like it's not exactly the Feywildian teleportation circle. Like he's made his edits depicting on his current knowledge of his spells and like what he's learned from other teleportation circles, and he's attempting, while holding the orb in the other hand, he's going to attempt to cast a 4th level spell, which is called, give me a second, Summon Elemental Spirit. And he's tried this spell in the past, didn't really say it out loud, but he had a tough time trying to figure out the conjuration behind it because he was trying to do something unique and it wasn't working. So he's trying it on a bigger scale now. The goal is to affect this rock in some way with the elemental plane of Earth. He's choosing Earth as his element, and possibly open up a gate or conjure something into existence near the rock and hopefully activate the teleportation circle around it to see what happens.
Okay, give me a quick Arcana check with your casting the spell.
All right. I rolled a 13 plus 10 is 23.
Okay, so Wiswick, what you're really trying to do here is you're messing with spellcraft. And you're attempting to meld material, reagents, all different components to several spells to try to create a phenomenon. So with that high of a Arcana check, there is some reactions you can notice. The first thing you notice is the boulder splits. Like there are several cracks that go through it. As you can sort of see, like immediately, like a shockwave shoots out of the rock, blowing the carved earthen dirt circle out. Like it's just such a shockwave that it destroys your teleportation circle design. And the rock splits in several ways, almost like a shell, and then you can just sort of see it cracks apart in ways that forms the humanoid shape that is the earth elemental spirit from your spell that stands up. Give me a quick insight check.
Okay. It almost fell off the table. I hit the dice. I don't know if that's what's called. That wouldn't work in a casino, but I'm calling it. I rolled a 2 with an insight of +0, so it's a 2.
This thing, you're unsure of the planar nature of it all, which is what you were looking for. All you know is that something happened inside the rock. You're not sure if there was a rift that opened briefly or what, but you know that the rock became the elemental. The elemental this elemental spirit took what it could from the material plane to form its material form. And that shockwave happened before it all happened. You uncertain what that means, though. But what all you do know is that the teleportation circle in the ground had no effect on the spell itself. It was a simulacrum of a true material component.
Wiswick had his hands over his eyes and he's like peeking through like this, and he looks up and sees the creature standing before it, and he begins like he just goes like this, and he's like attempting to make the elemental like mimic his gesture.
Say that again. You broke out for a second for me.
He's concentrating on the spell, and he's trying to make the elemental mimic the gesture.
Oh, I see. It kind of looks up at you and goes,
Okay. He pulls out another page and just he's not really scared of the creature anymore, and he slowly comes up and begins taking notes about the physical form of the creature, and it's basically like on the opposite side of the rock painting, and he's just doing the same thing over again, like putting in a lot of detail.
yeah, and you're just sort of like every now and then like making it lift its arm to get all the details, and it's just sort of like,
Yeah, after I finish like drawing it, I start like testing its reflexes and like seeing what it can do and stuff like that.
Yeah, totally. Just throw some shit at it and it just sort of hits it. It's like,
Vizek, I don't know. This is great and all, but our lives are on the line. We should probably go. Maybe next time we have a longer break. I know that we took a well-needed one. I just don't know how long we really should stay here.
Timber, we've been here for hours. If there was somebody coming, we would have seen it by now. My alarm didn't go off. It's probably fine. Just give me a little while longer. I'm in the middle of something.
But okay.
I'd say you have Wiswick, for your reference. You have about another 40 minutes or so with the rock golem before all of you would notice Curon started waking Scarlet. Scarlet, you would immediately wake to no sharp pains, but just a thrumming, dull pain through your leg.
I think.
Careful now. And so you see Curon's at the end of the cart, and he'll put a hand out for you to step off the cart.
I'll take it and very gingerly put weight on it.
Yeah, it's a bit, and like once you get down, you don't feel like it's this thrumming ache. It's a dull pain that just kind of like shoots up individual nerves. That's just sort of persistent in a way that's just very uncomfortable. It's not gonna ruin you can walk, but it's gonna be difficult.
Sure.
And you just sort of careful now, as you just sort of slowly kind of like putting weight on it, kind of hopping every now and then. The bone is healed, but there's just intense pain and through it, as there's just sort of like, even though it's healed magically, it's like your biology is like catching up to the healing.
For sure.
It's like, what the hell happened? Why are these cells bonded? What is going on? Your immune system's rejecting the healing now.
D&D biology, yes.
Yes. Could you imagine if it's like 1% of people healed reject the healing?
It would be anybody who would totally.
5 in 10 clerics know this information.
The healing doesn't work. He just melted into dust.
Gilderoy Lockhart of the crew.
Healing potions. 9 out of 10 clerics recommend.
I casted Cure Wounds. It did inflict wounds because his body rejected it. Anyway, Cal, I'd say you're starting to come awake at this point, opening your eyes slowly to the warm air around you, as you can see, kind of hear the dust kicking up as Curon is leading Scarlet around the camp, helping her get adjusted to her healed leg. You can see Timber there standing, scratching his head as Wiswick is looking at this rock golem that's just sort of like, as it's about to fall to pieces, as Embla is resting in her own cart with the dwarf. For all intents and purposes, a pleasant scene. in the sense of it's you're not in danger, and well, you are, but you're not currently in immediate danger. But your friends are all just sort of around on a nice day, making minute progress.
I awake and grab some food from our rations, and I eat it because I need to recover exhaustion.
Yes. Cal, you will retain 1 point of exhaustion until your next long rest.
Yeah.
Cal, you all at this point, Scarlet, you notice Cal kind of still. He's not tired in the sense of sleep, but his body looks physically exhausted still, as you see him eating a bit of rations, sitting kind of off the back of the cart, watching you, as you're kind of, the closest thing I can think of is like, hey, we're taking the training wheels off your bike. But like you're getting used to like just sort of like walking a little bit on it. Like you're the recommendation from the doctor, Dr. Kiran, is still that you stay off of it for 3 days at least. But it's so much better than it was before.
I will, as I'm, standing on my own a little bit, I'll look at Kiran. Thank you. It's much better.
Of course, Scarlet.
And then
and before you turn away from me, like you can just see this like quick pained expression on Kiran's face as he holds in the truth.
like, okay.
Stefan's not here, so I'm not going to go past that. But like, just like he generally just like. That would be so mean if I was like, Stefan, I entirely role-played Kiran revealing to Scarlet this. No, you just see like there's some weariness behind his eyes. You could mistake it for the journey.
That's what she's going to chalk it up to, the whole rescue mission. She's going to see Cal is awake and moving around, and having heard Wiswick say, ask Cal, she's going to go hobble back over to the cart and just like kind of sit on the edge and like scoop back into it, able to sit up now.
Cal's gonna like offer to help, I don't know if she needs it, but he's gonna like be cautious.
She doesn't want to need
get out
it,
of her way.
She'll take it.
Yeah. How you feeling?
Better. Karen did wonderful. It still hurts, but it's a lot better than it was.
Good. I'm glad.
How are you?
Oh, I'm well. You know me.
You don't look well.
All right. I'm a bit tired, but I'm well overall.
Closer to the mic, Shannon.
But I'm well.
Message received.
I guess you should stay off that for another couple days, right? I heard him say that.
Yeah, that's
we'll need you on it soon. If I can foresee, if I was a prophet, I would imagine you're gonna need that soon.
So we are going back, right?
No, no, we're not. I don't think so.
Why not?
Because in the end, as we were escaping, Thatcher killed the warden, and I don't know if you were still awake for that. I'm sorry, I don't remember. Thatcher killed the warden, and as we were leaving, and as Timber was leaving, I believe he said that they were out in force, and Thatcher basically runs the whole town now. So I don't think there's a good way for us to get back in there in any way that doesn't devolve into just a full-on. Like we don't have the numbers to assault a town, That
just means he's probably going to kill him. We have to go back.
Caleb?
Now.
Caleb got out.
No, not Caleb. No, Reese. He's.
I'm breaking up a little.
Break it up.
Okay.
No, okay, all right, we're good.
Not now, Discord.
Yeah, all right, cool. So, well.
We have to go back now.
No, he's. So I don't think. No, it's a bad idea right now. Maybe we can go back later and try to get him out.
You said you would help me.
Of course, I will, and I did. We did. I don't think in our current state with our current resources is the time to go back in and get him out. I don't think we can. I think we're all going to die. You, me, everyone.
We have to go back.
Look,
We do. I'll go back myself if I have to.
no, you won't. You won't do that.
Why not?
Because, Scarlet, going after your brother is just going to get you killed.
Whatever it takes. I don't want him to be.
Whatever it takes doesn't make any sense. If you're dead, he's just as fucked. Like, there's no...
If I die freeing him, it doesn't matter.
He doesn't need to be free.
Why not? Yes, he does.
No, he doesn't, Scarlet. I fucking had to put a sword through his face to let us get out of there.
What?
He tried to kill us all. You...
What? No, he didn't. No, he didn't.
You met Thatcher, right?
Yes. Of course I did.
Sorry to tell you this, and I'm sorry I have to be the one to tell you this, but according to our information and what we were able to see, Thatcher's your brother. He just says that like quickly, like just to like rip the Band-Aid off.
It's just you see Cal just sort of quickly, like for a moment, just take a breath in and just say what he says, and then looks away. Like it's quick, and it hits you exactly what he's saying. For a moment, you're just like almost your sound seems to stop for a moment as you just pieces start to come together in your mind of things that you in the last 24 hours denied as you spoken with Thatcher. Every detail, a broken promise as he shattered the dagger. These things start to bubble up in your mind, piercing through the denial as you look back to Cal.
Why would you say such a thing? That monster is not him. That's not my brother.
Yes, it is.
That's not him.
It's your brother. I saw it with my own two eyes.
It's not him.
He dropped his disguise in front of me. I saw his red hair, his gray skin, and his pallid mask.
Cal's looking anywhere but Scarlet right now. He's like checking his swords or, just like...
Timber drops her stuff in front of her. I got your stuff back.
You see...
Reese. And...
Scarlet, as this all twists through your mind, you hear it plop down in front of you. Your bag. Evidence of Timber's re-entry into the Thistle. As he explains, he saw your brother. You look to Cal, he's avoiding your eye. You look to Curon, who's just uttering a small prayer under his breath in Elvish, quietly muttering a prayer.
Wiswick's in the back. His golem has collapsed to the ground. He's just kind of he takes his hat off and puts it on his chest, just looking at her sad, like with a morose face.
Yeah.
I don't believe you. It's not him.
I don't. It is. There's no way around it. And I'm sorry, but...
No, for Sean.
Yes.
Was there any weird feature about him that I would have noticed that I could explain to Scarlet that I saw?
Really, the only things that are define him as Reese are his features like hers, his Genasi, Lava Genasi features. The eyes, you can remind her, you could say, his eyes look just like yours, which Scarlet would remind you of that moment you saw his eyes shift in the fight. So go ahead, Timber.
He looked exactly like you. his hair, his skin, and most of all his eyes.
That
Right
image
after,
floods back.
right after he dropped his disguise.
That image floods back to your mind, Scarlet, of you scuffling on the floor with him after he murdered Silas. The rage in his eyes when they shifted to that molten color, when he stared into your molten eyes as well, and that vitriol. And every word spills out in your mind from when you were in the prison. Every twist of his knife, every detail he seemed to know, a broken promise. It's true.
She's beyond words at this point.
After like a few minutes of quiet, Wiswick kind of just goes up to her and leans over and like gets close and says, "All hope is not lost. We've got to stay positive in times of turmoil. Family's the most important thing, and we'll find a way to get him back to us. It won't be soon, but I've already started looking into it. We can work together as a team, and we'll find a way to get him back to the old Reese."
You saw him, he's a monster.
There's no going back. If somebody does wrong, the only thing you could do is keep looking forward and try and make things right.
I failed him. I broke my promise.
You could still make it up. Like Visit said.
I've broken promises to family as well. But you can't let that bring you down, Scarlet. There's a time and a place for everything, and now might be a good time for you to be sad, but you've got to get back up. It's the only way to make things right.
Leave me alone.
I'm not going to leave you alone.
Leave me alone.
Tara pats Wiswick on the back.
She needs us.
She needs time to be alone.
She's always alone. Can't you see that she's hurting? Why can't we be here for her?
Vizik.
As you hear the gnome bubbling, protective instincts for you, Scarlet. Timber, you pat Wiswick on the back, frustrated but sympathetic. Cal, you were going to say something?
Yeah, I was gonna, when Wiswick was talking about, she was saying leave me alone, I was like I was gonna glance at Timber to see what he was doing, but then he did it.
Okay.
So I think what Cal would do actually is like nod and kind of like not motion. I'm not waving him away, but like a hang on, like give me a second. And I think I think Cal would, because Kieran's not here, would get up into the cart and just kind of sit next to her, silent, not saying nothing.
Yeah.
You know, just kind of sitting there.
So as Cal, you sit on this back of the cart.
Offer a literal shoulder. You know what I mean?
Scarlet, you've by this point collapsed down onto the cart as Cal sits next to you silently, but there for you.
Put my head on his shoulder.
You put your head on his shoulder as you see your friends around you. Timber, is there something you had?
was gonna add a little bit. As she lays her head against Cal, Scarlet, I know you're in turmoil right now. I need you to try something for me. Think. You don't have to say anything back to me. Think of the flame that's inside your chest. It's inside of Reese's chest. Every breath you take, every breath you exhale and inhale, that flame goes larger and larger. Now, exhale deeply. And I know, it's much harder right now, but you have to get your mind off it. Focus on the flame. Focus on the flame. There you go, there you go. Focus on that flame. Exhale. Inhale. Exhale. Good, 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 good. Now watch as that flame grows lighter and lighter. Softer and softer. Very good. Focus on that flame. As that happens, as long as you keep that low flame lit, you'll be able to be on the right path to get Reese back. Keep that flame controlled. Very good, Scarlet. We're here for you.
With this meditation, Scarlet, through your sobs you inhale deeply and exhale to Timber's guidance. Memories flashing in your mind of Reese. You think of your father, your last moments with him. You try to imagine that young, innocent boy as a murderer. But what breaks through is a soul memory running through the fields outside of Cindermire, chasing Reese as a boy. Young, you must be no older than 8, 7 or 8. Even younger. 5, maybe. As a blurred out figure in the distance shouts out your name. Rowan. Reese. Out of focus, you see a bright red, fiery flame in the distance. Flowing dress around it. The largest smile you've ever seen. The only and last memory you have of your mother. You see, as your vision refocuses back, Timber lets go of your hand as he had knelt before you to provide that meditative guidance. You're sinking into Cal's shoulder. Wiswick holds his hat, staring solemnly towards you. You watch Robert come up and sort of just take your hand for a moment, not understanding fully what's happening. So it'll be okay, Scarlet. It'll be okay. And he drops your hand and steps back. As Curon steps forward and places a hand on his lips and then to your forehead, takes your hand. And that's where we're going to end tonight. To give Stefan a chance to give you a message when we start the next session. Thank you, everyone, for sticking through with us to 10:05. for a climactic emotional RP moment at the end of this. Join us next week on Monday for Curon's putting Stefan on a pretty big spot there. And I didn't mean to, but I know he had something. I know he'd want to say something in this moment, and it's kind of worked out perfectly to give him an opportunity to. So sorry, Steph. I know you're gonna watch this before next week, so hope it's good.
Prep
Just
a monologue.
Got a week to think about
prep a
it.
monologue, but it can be as simple as a nod. You don't even have to say anything. You could just simply nod to her. As this moment does not
Nah,
need
it
too
better
much.
be good, Stefan. We didn't get it that time.
Folks, thank you for joining us. Nick, congratulations on your new spell tracker.
Everybody.
I hope you enjoyed Advantage in Paradise tonight. Join us on Wednesday for Relaxing in Paradise, where I will draw the map of Zverwold, paint a terrifying lightning worm, and potentially play video games. And then join us on Sunday for the Tim and Shannon Power Hour as they dissect what is truthfully not a very eventful session, but a very impactful session. And then we'll see you again next Monday to see what happens next. Thank you.
Woo!
Have a lovely evening,
Everybody, we
and we'll
love
see you next Monday.